Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Roast Podcast, episode number 94. I am Brendan. God dang, it feels good to have the UFC back. You can say whatever you want. I understand that there was other MMA going on. There were other fights, boxing, whatever. But it just feels different when the UFC puts a card back on. Don't tell me any different. Don't tell me you felt different. Don't be silly. All right, today we're going to talk about UFC Fight Night, Kattar versus Chikadze. What a phenomenal fight. Saved a pedestrian card, let's be honest. Okay, there were some decent fights, some not so decent fights, but overall it wasn't the most exciting card, right? We weren't having a ton of output. We've had a few of these recently. We've actually had a lot of them. It's just a law of large numbers, right? It's, you keep adding more cards, you're less likely to have bangers. Just what it is. If you had 10 bangers a year and you only had 12 cards a year, well, a majority of your cards, people are going to remember like, oh, shit, yeah, the UFC is a huge event every time. It's like nothing but killer. It's great. Well, that's not how it works anymore, right? We have like 48 events, and we have like 44, 48. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we get over 52 events a year. I understand with the Dana White Contender Series, it does take us past that, but I really do believe we could have UFC proper, the actual proper UFC events, more than one per week for the entire year. At least it could average out that way, right? You could have two. Doesn't matter. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, before we get into it, let's take a second here. Please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Please like the video. It helps me a lot. I really appreciate all of the feedback, the comments, and everything like that. So please tell me what you thought about the fight. Tell me what you thought. Do you think that this is a fight of the year contender and this was the first card? Do you think Kattar was overrated or underrated? Do you think Chikadze was overrated or undervalued? Tell me what your thoughts on the fight were. Maybe your thoughts on the card. Did you think it was boring? Maybe on some of the personnel who were doing commentary. I heard a lot of complaining, or I read a lot of complaining about that online. So, all right, let's dive into it. Okay, why does it look out of... Yeah, that's better. Anyway, all right. First of all, I'm going to say the obligatory comment because I say it almost every time that they are together. I mean it. I'm not saying it to blow sunshine up their ass, nor am I saying it to make a statement to be contrarian to everyone else. I genuinely like Bisping and Cruz. I mean, I understand that people don't like Cruz. I understand that people don't like Bisping. I understand that people don't like when they're together. I get it. I do. But I like them. I think they play off of each other very well. I think their professionalism is outstanding, but not a detriment to the way that they communicate with each other and also making it entertaining for people watching, i.e., they make fun of each other, and they do it in mostly a professional way, right? Like, obviously, they're ribbing each other gently, and they're usually relating it to fighting, maybe what they're seeing out there, giving Bisping crap for only knowing two. Like, Bisping even said it, he's like, I have a rule. When I'm on the bottom, I attempt 2 submissions, and if I don't get them, I get back up. And he's like, see, you missed your chance there, Cruz. You could have said those are the only 2 submissions that so like, they know how they are with each other. I think it's fun, playful banter, and I appreciate it. I also, the real reason I like them, one, it's entertaining to listen to them talk the whole time. But the big reason for me is the insight from Cruz and the not opposing insight, but differential insight from Bisping. He does such a good job. I initially didn't like him because he was so anti-wrestling, anti-grappling, anti-stalling. Some of those things, it might be, coincide or, run parallel to your belief systems, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with those things. It's just listening to them constantly made me just not like when he was on the card. But I think he has gotten better. He's gotten more comfortable up there, and he's also more appreciative of what's going on. He mentions mixed martial arts quite a bit. That seems to be a buzz phrase that was thrown around last night. Dude, it was... I like them a lot together. And Brent, like I said this last year, Brendan Fitzgerald is he's nipping on John Anik's heels, man. He really is. He's doing such a good job. He does enough, and I think part of the reason why he's quiet, or more quiet maybe than John Anik would be, or maybe he doesn't come across in the broadcast as much as John Anik does, is just from either his personality or maybe him knowing himself better than everyone else. And he says, hey, I'm going to let these two go at it, and I'll wait till my next ad read. Or hey, I should bring this up about this fighter. He does just enough to the point where I don't even realize he's there. And I think for his position, that's really good. Like, he's not there to make the crazy calls. He's not there to give his incredible insight. He's there to read off stats, bring up history, talk about information that can add value to the fight, those kinds of things. And I think he does a great job. All right. Drinking raspberry tea here. It is 6 o'clock, and I would like to not be up until midnight. So coffee's a no-go. I just wanted something warm. Turned on the heat in my house because I found out that when you have a lot of windows, as you can see in this room, the heat and air don't like staying inside. So because of that, I can close this side of the house off from the other side of the house. So I lowered it to 60 degrees in here. It's freaking freezing. So that is also why I'm in a hoodie. Cool. Let's get going. Let's get into the first fight. Okay. I want to bring up stats here because this fight was absolute bananas. It was just craziness from start to finish. So to start the fight, Giga came out hard. Big leg kicks, strong leg kicks. Kicks to the body, kicks to the arms, throwing them up top, trying for head kicks. He didn't land any big head kicks or anything like that. Throwing big hooks, hard body shots, he throws hard. He's got a lot of quick twitch muscle fiber, and he moves very fast. Okay, he's a very fast, hard-hitting individual, and this is what I said last week. I thought Giga had more tools on the feet to win. I might not have clarified that. I might have said more tools to win. Mistakenly, that's obviously wrong. If I said that, I wasn't including grappling. Because as we saw in the first round, Kattar is a much better grappler. And as far as how this fight went, it went how I thought it would have gone if it went past the first round, right? Where Giga slows down and he just doesn't have... Actually, I might have said if it goes past the second round, because that's really when it changed. The second round was a lot closer than people are talking here. So all things being considered, or just to throw out how I scored it, I did give it all. I gave all 5 rounds to Kattar. But the first one was very close, and so was the second one. So let's go over what happens in the fight. So in the first round, Giga's throwing nasty shit. Just landing, not at will, but he's landing hard, and even when the stuff is blocked, you can tell it hurts. Kattar's not making any faces. He's not wincing or anything like that, but it doesn't matter. He's a human being. You know that shit hurts. He throws a high kick, Giga does, and slips, falls, and this is so interesting. The not dichotomy, because it's more than two, but just the difference in, I guess, either experience or willpower, maybe willingness to engage. If this were to happen in 9 out of 10 fights, where the one fighter throws a punch, a kick, does whatever and just slips and falls, before I say anything else, what do you think happens next? They're in, I would say, just outside of kickboxing range. Okay, so not even really a kick could land if he's on the ground. So this is they're obviously not in grappling range where I could just punch him when he fell down. There's enough space between us where I can't kick him or you can't kick him, or the person. Let's say this is just UFC fights. Okay, 9 out of 10 fights. When that happens, in your brain, what happens next? I'll give you a second to think about it. Okay, in your brain, did you just think the guy who fell down gets right back up and the other guy stands there and waits for him to get back up? Because that's exactly what I expect to happen every single time I see it during the fights. Which is interesting because that's not what happened here. No way. Dude, Kattar saw him slip and fall down, and he was like, fuck this. Sprinted full speed ahead at him, grabs his waist, and then shoved him, like, because Giga was also moving away from him towards the fence trying to escape, just jumps and pushes him against the cage, lifts him up, picks and slams him down. It's that kind of haste, that kind of just, I would say, wherewithal, just to understand what's at stake here and the amount of mistakes that you can capitalize on in a fight, and seeing one happen right in front of them and just taking advantage of it. Right? This is one of those, it's very similar a few weeks ago when Cub Swanson was taking on Darren Elkins. I pointed this out because it was very odd. Now, Darren Elkins didn't slip down, he was knocked down. But what a lot of people end up doing is standing right over them with their head, right? Like if I'm down right in front of you, you would just walk straight at the top of my head and punch straight on, right? You know, maybe hooks or whatever, but you just walk straight on. What did Cub Swanson do? He kept his feet out like he was playing tag. He's like, I'm not letting Darren Elkins touch my feet. I'm not letting him touch my legs. I'm not letting him touch my waist. And he was circling, really quick movements, just bouncing around, keeping him from touching him. It's just something you don't see when it seems so obvious. And me, obviously not being a fighter, and most people, critics, if you want to call them, would say, oh man, those fighters, if you wouldn't have just walked into them, well, and then the response is always, well, you don't fight. It's a lot harder than it looks. Great. But I have seen very recently 2 examples, and I can name other examples in my head. Brock Lesnar versus Heath Herring, where he hits him, knocks him over, and then rushes forward at him. I mean, it wasn't as clean. It was a lot sloppier, but it's the point where you take advantage of every opportunity that you have while you're in there, because you're only in there for a certain amount of time. You have to capitalize on every mistake your opponent makes. You have to take every advantage that's given to you. And why wouldn't you do that? Right? Now, if this is Damian Maia who trips and falls, obviously, you leave him alone because that's where he wants to be. If this is Ryan Hall and he falls, you leave him alone. This is Giga, a kickboxer who doesn't want to be on the ground. What do? Rush at him, throw him against the fence, and pick him up. Perfect. So Kattar gets on top, and he spends probably about 2.5, 3 minutes of ground time and control in the first round. A couple things I did not like in this fight, but specifically in that first round. Giga, the willingness to remain on bottom, the willingness to wait for the referee, and then also actively looking at the referee and making this face. I hate that shit. I hate it with a passion. I don't care if it's a fighter I like and it doesn't hit me at the time. I don't care if it's a fighter I hate. I don't care if it's a fighter I've never seen before. Doesn't matter. I hate it. You can say whatever you want about different referees and their refereeing practices that can change from fight to fight, but also from referee to referee, where they might allow more groundwork to take place, more stalling on the ground to take place, and you might not like it. I am not against that. I'm not against you. I'm not saying that you should enjoy 2 men sitting there or 2 women just laying there doing nothing. Obviously, if that is your cup of tea, it's weird. I'm not going to kink shame. You watch what you watch, and you want to see in the UFC what you want to see. It's not my favorite thing to watch. So I don't think you're wrong either. What I'm saying is, when you say that, that's from an outsider's perspective. You get to say that. You're paying for this. You're giving time out of your day just to consume a product. This is a product. The ones in there, the rules are no nut kicks, no eye pokes, no hitting to the back of the head, no hitting to the mohawk, no hitting to the spine, no grabbing the fence, no kicking and down, kicking or kneeing a ground opponent in the head. And try to advance and finish the fight at all times. Okay, that last one is where it gets a little bit iffy. I know there's more rules. But you know those rules being in there, okay? If you're a fighter, you know those rules. Stop looking up at the referee. Advance. Get back on your feet yourself. I'm not saying that stalling should be okay. And I'm not glorifying wrestle fucking. That's not what I'm doing. What I don't like and no, what I hate is seeing guys on the bottom just acting like a helpless child. Like, oh, I don't know. He's not doing anything. And they said if he's not doing anything, we get to stand up. So like, we stand up. No, you get your ass up. Don't look at the referee. He's not in there to help you. The referee is not in there to help you. He's there to enforce the rules and regulations. If he doesn't see a rule violation, then guess what? The fight continues as is. Now, again, that has its detriments and its blah, 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 its downsides too. I'm not saying it doesn't. All right, little mini rant out of the way there. I hate that. I really hate it. I do not like when I see that from fighters. It doesn't look good. I don't think it bodes well for their mental toughness, acuity, fight IQ, any of that stuff. It's a bitch move and a cop out, and I hate it. So, in the first round, we can see here Giga outlanding Kelvin 8-4, landing 8 big shots. Okay, those are very hard shots. And Kelvin landed a couple himself, and he landed, I would say, some damage, and also he's going for submissions. So, because he got the back, and he was going for a finish. So, this is one of those scenarios where I would say on the outset of just striking, Giga obviously did more damage. But damage, as much as I say this a lot, damage is the most important thing, and it is. But damage also it has to include going for a finish, because submissions don't cause physical damage the way a punch does. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm going for a guillotine, I'm damaging their esophagus or, cutting off circulation to their brain, but that's not a punch to the face or causing a cut but it has to count for something for doing damage. So and also a slam obviously counts towards damage. It's one of those things where it's close enough. If you gave the first round to Giga, I wouldn't be mad. Right? By the judging criteria, I would not be mad. I think that Kattar did enough on the ground to warrant him winning the first round, so I did give it to him. But if you gave it to Giga, I could totally see that. In the second round here, so Kattar was just getting tuned up on the feet again. So this is what I'm saying. I've seen the other pundits talk, and these, I guess you could call them hindsight. They might have called it beforehand too, but these hindsight commentators talking about, Kattar just rang them out from bell to bell. Okay, yes, on the scorecards he did, but that first round was really close. The second round, also very close. Kattar was getting tuned up for the early part of the round. Now, Chikadze did look tired. Okay, he did look tired, and Kattar kept moving forward, so octagon control goes to Kattar. But Giga landed more shots. Right? He landed more big shots. It's right here. 38-28. For this whole thing where they say Kattar. See, Kattar. So, because Giga kept, it was about appearances too, and Giga kept landing good shots, but he always looked so tired and worn down. And the second round, with Kattar constantly moving forward, I literally have it in my notes like, holy shit, what a round. Round 2 was craziness. And again, I also wrote, maybe give it to Giga because he did more. I think he might have done more damage. But the forward pressure and equal damage, plus there was that big elbow. So very visually, the big defining moment of that round goes to Kattar. I mean, I gave it to Kattar. So I had him up 2018. But that's the thing is, like, if you gave that second round to Giga, I don't agree with it, but I could see it. Okay? He landed some really good shots, and I've also said forward pressure without landing anything means nothing. Okay? If you move a punching bag forward and it just keeps getting wrapped in the face, that's not a winning technique or strategy, so I don't want to hear about it. The third round, Kattar started being able to land at will. Giga just looked so tired. He had nothing left in the third, not throwing any volume. He stopped throwing leg kicks in the second, didn't throw any in the third, like hardly any in the third, I don't think he threw any. There was a takedown attempt where Kattar ran him against the cage again, and Giga grabs the fence, and Keith Peterson went in there to break it, but that fence grab kind of stopped the takedown, so Giga gets away with one of those. Real bullshit. I don't like that. And that goes here. So it's not just a single action. It's cumulative. Him sitting on his back and just looking up at the referee. The shit that he's been talking lately, rightfully so. The way he's been knocking people out, whatever. But the shit he's been talking, like he's king shit, and he can knock everybody out, and he can beat everyone in the division, and he should go fight Volkanovski. Then he gets put on his back, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, he's not doing anything. Can you stand us up now so I can punch him in the face?" So there's that. And then in this round where he just blatantly grabs the fence to stop from getting taken down, these things add up. I don't like it. Tons of pressure from Kattar, but a little less output from him it felt like less output in the third round. I'm right. Man, so total strikes in the third round, when they listed them live, I think they listed significant strikes. They said that he landed more in the third than he did in the second. That's wrong. I had it right. Giga landed less. Like, his output was horrible in the second round, but, Kattar was slowing down too, and his output was also less. But constant pressure, and he did more damage. Easily, third round goes to Kattar. So, and also one thing that really was working wonders was his jab. In the third round, he was just throwing out there constantly, just touching Giga just touching Giga's nose. Whap, 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 whap. And yeah, they were talking about in the first round, Dominic Cruz rightfully pointed out how when he changed stance, it took away that body kick that Giga likes to throw, and it made Giga think. But that didn't really take, I don't think, when they were talking about moving in and smothering him, and that's why he's not throwing the kicks, I don't think that was why. I think it was the kicks weren't working, and they take a lot of energy to throw, and he was just tired. That's what it looked like to me. I mean, again, I'm not a fighter, but none of us were in there, so we don't know, and my input is just as valuable as theirs. I understand technique-wise what they're talking about by smothering the kick, you move into inside their kicking range, well inside their kicking range, and it's not a good distance to kick unless your name's Justin Gagey, in which case he can be sitting on your head and land a leg kick somehow. He's just got tired. So I had him landing maybe 4 good shots in the fourth round. Yeah, just so much output from Kattar. And yeah, if you look on here, it shows that he landed 28 of 70 in the fourth round. By the way, both of these men, crazy output as well. Very impressive. Total significant strikes, 402. Significant strike attempts, 402 to 347. That's a lot of output, guys. It really is. And I'm sure you've heard this before if you're a longtime MMA fan. And if you haven't, I'll say it again because it stands true. Stand in front of a mirror, or just the mirror so you can watch yourself do it, but stand in front of a mirror or something else. Don't hit anything. Nothing. Just hold your hands in front of your face for 25 minutes. Or do the faster version. Throw 100 punches and see how you feel. 100 with each arm. And now double it. And now also throw them as hard as you can and try to, like, on top of all the wrestling and moving around and all that other stuff. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of stamina to do that. So these guys they don't have the best conditioning in the division. I think that goes to Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. I think they have some of the best. Max Holloway's probably the best. So these guys were visibly tired, both of them. And then going into the fifth round, Giga started landing some better shots. I mean, he had his moments at the end of the third. The fourth wasn't a terrible round for him. And then in the fifth round, I think he had his best round since the second. He landed 32 shots of 51. 251, sorry. So, he did get outlanded in the last three rounds, and I do believe he lost all three of those. The first two you could give to Giga, but still Kattar wins that fight. I think Kattar looked great. That was a very long breakdown, holy moly. It's okay. The rest of these fights are real boring. I have tons of notes, but it does not deserve that amount of time. Yeah, I watch these fights. So here's a little insight. I was doing other stuff yesterday while the fights were going on. And normally I watch them the next day, but then I was like, maybe I'll just watch the main event and take notes on that, and then I'll go back and watch it before I record. Well, guess what? I watched the whole thing. So I stayed up super late last night. Might as well have been a pay-per-view with how late I stayed up. So really silly. All right, where do we go from here, guys? Where do we go from here with Kattar? Well, I will tell you what I think should happen. You tell me what you think should happen. Volkanovski is fighting the Korean Zombie. I didn't update that. So earlier last week we talked about it, how the winner of this fight might go fight him, or Giga's would have 8 fights in a row and he gets to go fight the title shot. And I said I don't want to see that. I'd rather see him fight Chan Sung Jung. That's what's happening. So they are fighting. Max Holloway is out officially for a little bit. He is injured. Brian Ortega is free. Yair Rodriguez is free. Both these guys took a beating recently. Josh Emmett is free. I'll tell you what I would like. I would like Calvin Kattar to keep his current position. Obviously, at number 5, I don't know how he jumps any of these other guys. Maybe Yair bounces. Okay, this would be stupid, but I wouldn't put this past the ranking systems. Yair getting brought down to 5, Korean Zombie moving up to 4, and Calvin moving up. Korean Zombie moving up to 3, and then Kattar moving up to 5 or 4. Sorry, I could see that happening. I don't think Kattar jumps Korean Zombie. He shouldn't anyway. Here's what I want to see. Max Holloway getting the next title shot. For shizzle. I do not care. I do not care. He has earned it. I don't want to see him tear apart any of these other poor souls, except for Josh Emmett. Not that I want to see Josh Emmett lose. It's just that fight hasn't happened yet. I don't need to see him fighting any of these other guys until after he fights Volkanovski again. Now, if the Korean Zombie... So here's the big if. If the Korean Zombie manages to beat Volkanovski, it could throw a big wrench into this. But depending on how the recovery times line up and the scheduling works out, what we could have is what I stated last week, which is a Chan Sung Jung winning the belt, Volkanovski not getting the immediate title rematch, Holloway coming in, taking on Korean Zombie, and let's say he wins, which is a good possibility. Max Holloway beats him. Then we have the third Volkanovski fight, and the roles are reversed yet again, and it makes sense this time because you're not forcing a guy who's already lost to him to go try and get the belt. I think the storyline adds up. It makes more sense to me. Either way, I still think Max Holloway gets the next title shot. So, Calvin Kattar. Well, who do I want to see him fight? I would like to see him fight Brian Ortega. I've heard some push for him to fight the loser of Volkanovski versus Korean Zombie. If Korean Zombie loses, sure. If Volkanovski loses, absolutely not. That makes no sense. So that's dependent, right? So he could fight. So these are the two fights I'd like to see him do possibly. Brian Ortega or Korean Zombie. Those are the only two guys I want to see him fight. Yair, I think it would be interesting, but I think Yair, he still doesn't belong up there. I understand he's got to win over Korean Zombie and all, but and he looked real good against Max Holloway. I just think, he hasn't really beaten a lot of these guys. It's hard to keep him up there. I'd like to see him fight someone like Edson Barbosa. Or have him fight Giga. That would be a fun fight. Arnold Allen, I don't want to see that. Dan Ige, maybe. But anyway, what do we do with Giga? So I already stated, I don't mind him taking on Yair, although I don't think that makes too much sense, him stepping back up in competition. Do I think he drops down after this weekend? Maybe he switches places with Ige, or he drops outside the top 10, and then they move these two guys up. Maybe he ends up at 11 or something. Or maybe 11 and Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, they all move up. That's a possibility. So Giga already fought Edson Barbosa. Him versus Dan Ige makes sense. Him versus Bryce Mitchell makes sense. Sodiq Yusuff. All these guys who are ranked below him, it makes sense. So I'm okay with that. Also, Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy back in the rankings, which is fantastic. I love him fighting. I don't think he's a good matchup for anybody, or a bad matchup for anybody in the top 15 here. I mean, I think he could hold his own against Arnold Allen, or maybe Bryce Mitchell. I don't know about that one. Maybe Yusuff, but I don't think so either. I think he could beat some of these guys on a given night, but I don't think he beats a lot of them most of the time. I'm just happy to see him in the rankings because I do like his fight style and I like him. All right, that's it. Let's go back, shall we? Back to Kelly. So overall, that fight was amazing. I think it deserved fight of the night, which it got. I think it was a fun fight to watch. I think it was highly skilled in certain ways, but then it eventually devolved into a fatigued slugfest. Like many fights do, this is not a detriment to the fighters or that fight in itself. You can't always have a technical masterpiece for 5 straight rounds. It's just not going to happen. Okay, you want guys to mix in all facets of MMA and have back and forth rounds for all 5 rounds. How often does that really happen? Not very. You'll see stand-up fights, you'll see blowouts, you'll see close fights, you'll see boring ones. You'll see a boring round and then an exciting round. I thought this one was relatively exciting for most of the fight. And it was a fun fight to watch. All right, so we had Jake Collier taking on Chase Sherman. I called this one. This was not a hard fight to call. I don't know what Chase Sherman is as a fighter. Nothing about his fight style, his chin, his abilities, nothing about him other than his frame says UFC fighter, UFC heavyweight even. Okay, so it was a decent fight. Well, it lasted, like a little bit of slugging back and forth. Sherman landed some good shots. Collier just is a smoother striker. He moves way faster, and then he manages to get on top of him, flip him over, and gets a rear naked choke, which was hilarious because that is not how Jake Collier finishes fights. So that was pretty funny. All right, Brandon Royval taking on Rogerio Bontarin. We'll get to the decision in a minute. All right, so first round, let's look at the striking total, shall we? Royval landing 9 of 50. So Bontarin has some really crazy power, and he hits hard. He was even kicking Brandon's legs out from underneath him. Royval was just throwing everything out there, just constantly moving forward, throwing crazy shit. And Bontarin was waiting to counter. So he landed a lot of strikes, not a ton of significant strikes, obviously, in the first round, only 9 of 50. But I don't think Bontarin got a takedown after like this silly exchange at 2:30 into it, so about halfway, and then he sat on top of him, but he wasn't very active, and Brandon was more active off his back. So I think these significant strike numbers don't really tell the story. I mean, I probably give that round to Bontarin. You could give it to Brandon too. Whatever. Maybe give it to Bontarin. That's fine. Second round, just Royval just was so much output. Okay, even off his back, he's just throwing everything. He got in top. Bontarin got into top position for a bit, didn't do anything, no damage, no submission attempts, and then Brandon was doing more damage again. It looked like he stumbled Brandon. So here's one of the things that might have caused this controversial decision here. Not controversial decision, controversial card. So one of the things that happened was it looked like Bontarin had hit Brandon, and Brandon fell backwards and looked like a knockdown. It was not a knockdown. It was he misstepped and rolled his ankle and then fell backwards. So it didn't. He got right back up, and Royval kept his strike total high enough, and he kept with enough pressure, and I don't know. I gave the second round to Royval. I mean, he outlanded him, and I felt like he did enough, and the Bontarin wasn't throwing enough out there and didn't do enough damage to really outdo all the volume. So I gave the second round to Brandon. Third round, ton of pressure from Brandon. It was super effective until he ended up on his back again. Here's the thing: he was going for a gogo plata, then he goes for an arm bar, and then Bontarin does the Brazilian tap, where he goes like this, and then he decides not to tap. Fucking bullshit. And then Royval, he got on top, and then Royval spent 90 seconds, the last 90 seconds of the fight on top, landing damage, trying to finish the fight. Easy 29-28 for Royval. I don't see how you give two of those rounds to Bontarin. One of the judges did. And here's the thing. Bontarin at the end of the fight was had that surprise, what the fuck? Come on, man. Come on. I understand it's different when you're in there and you feel like the guy didn't do anything to you, but that's not how this works. Okay? You got hit more than you hit him. He did more damage to you, cumulatively. That's the end of it. You lose. Okay? If he jabs you 100 times and you land one big shot in the entire fight, you're probably going to lose, dude. That's the way it goes. So quit looking surprised. Good job for Royval. I'm very excited. I like the way he fights. I think he needs to shore some stuff up. He needs to, he said it himself, he needs to get his feet underneath him. I think one of the biggest problems he has is overextending on his punches and being off balance when he's throwing a lot of stuff. If he gets that in line, I think he'll do a pretty good job. All right, we had Jennifer Maia versus Caitlin Chookagian. I wasn't super excited about this fight, but it turned out to be really good. Maia with the big power shots, Chookagian with the volume. She did a good job throwing fast shots, using the teep kick to keep the distance. It was pretty good. It's just, Chookagian gets a top control. I felt like she won every round. She outstruck her in every single round. She did more work. I felt like she did a good job. It's unfortunate that the flyweight division is the way it is for her. I mean, I like Shevchenko. I like watching her fight. I think she's the best female fighter in the world. So it's just unfortunate for Chookagian being in this division and just constantly being number 2, right? And she lost to Andrade because Andrade landed a big shot to her liver, her stomach. If that doesn't go that way, I think she could beat Andrade. So if they fought again, I wouldn't be mad. I mean, you could throw her back up to fight Shevchenko because who else is going to fight Shevchenko right now? Sure. What else are you going to do here? Whatever. I mean, throw Roxanne Modafferi in there. Just give her one more title shot. I mean, I know she's going to get murdered, but just give her a chance. I feel like she's put in her dues in the sport. She deserves another one. Really good fight for Chookagian. I thought she looked phenomenal. Her jab was making the difference. She looked really good. I think she has nothing for Valentina, although she might do slightly better this time when she fights her. Although Valentina might knock her out this time, so who knows. All right, so we had Dakota Bush versus Slava Claus. This guy's hilarious. Vyacheslav Borshchev. Vyacheslav Borshchev. You pronounce it. It was actually pretty interesting. Bush was landing some big shots. He seemed to be the bully, but a couple big shots to the body, and Borshchev put him down. And then he did a fun Russian dance, so that was fun to watch. Borshchev's the real deal. He can hit hard. When he was on his back, he wasn't too active, and he did a little bit of that sitting around waiting for things to happen. In this case, it turned out well for him, but going forward, I would try to fix that shit. All right, Bill Algeo taking Joe Anderson Brito. Brito was this newer guy. He's doing a really good job with the pressure and throwing a lot of volume out there. Kind of. He didn't land. It wasn't significant strikes. He just constantly kept moving forward and throwing big shots at him. Well, he got tired. And that kind of still. I mean, it wasn't a blowout. Okay, it's just in the second, the first round. The first round, I gave it to Brito. Algeo got the better of the round on the feet, but how close the fight was, even though Brito only landed 2 significant strikes in the first round, I feel like when he put him down on the ground, he did enough down there to where it could have warranted Brito winning the first round. And then the next 2 rounds, he just wasn't able to do anything. He landed more shots, and he landed some big shots, but Algeo just has a infinite gas tank, so he just kept moving forward and outlanded him doing work. So good win for Algeo. All right. Jamie Pickett versus Joe Holmes. Fun fight to watch. These guys were about the same height, same reach, similar fighting styles, kind of. They kept saying that. I don't think so. Holmes is much more traditional boxing style with a few kicks, and then Pickett has a ton of random skills. He's throwing like side kicks and shit to the face, looking crazy good. First round, probably give that to Holmes. They traded kicks for a while, but Holmes landed the big shots early, and that was kind of it. Like Pickett kind of looked lost in the first round, not really able to find his distance or timing, so 10-9 to Holmes. And then the next round, Pickett started off with some pressure and landed some big shots, and then the second round was pretty boring. Not much went on. Pickett wins in the second round, and then the third round, more of the same until the end of the third round where Pickett threw like 4 side kicks in a row and landed them to his face. Not a lot of damage per se, but visually striking and interesting, and clearly winning that round. So good win for Pickett. I think he has a ton of potential. The dude is crazy fast. He's got a lot of explosiveness when he moves forward, and he does the blitz in. I think if he can put that together with keeping control of his feet, keeping his feet underneath him, and working on his balance, similar to how Brandon needs to do that stuff, I feel like he could be a real problem. And it's at middleweight, so always looking for new challengers there. Court McGee taking on Ramiz Brahimaj. Holy shit, Court McGee still doing it, dude. Although this third round, let me tell you, not much of a strike fest, huh? So this third round was, I think, was that Court McGee stayed. Yeah, Court McGee pretty much stayed on top of him the entire time. He just kept throwing his jab out there. Court McGee landing. I mean, he got a knockdown as well, clipping him behind the ear with the right hand. He did a good job. I think in the first round was probably the closest round, and then the second round, Court McGee did a great job of maintaining control. I think, it showed 11 minutes of control time for Court McGee. Even Ramiz at one point looked totally broken with only 2 minutes into the second round. Like, that's bad. This whole thing, again, another cocky guy, and you get broken like that. It's let's see how he comes back from this. But Court McGee's still doing the damn thing at 37. So I'm going to continue. He's also a super nice guy who doesn't like hurting people. This is pretty unique for the MMA space. Brian Boom Kelleher taking on Croom. Croom stepping up on 3 days' notice, so that was pretty cool. Oh, yeah, I think somebody else stepped on 3 days' notice. Who else did that? Didn't I write that for somebody else? I thought somebody else stepped up on short notice. Anyway, Brian Kelleher. So Kelleher's nickname is Boom, and Kevin Croom's nickname is Crash. So Boom and Crash. Pretty fun. You have fun with that as you will. So Croom was landing more, right? Crash versus Boom is fun to say. I wrote it in my notes like an idiot. Brian kept stepping. He stepped up on weight class, and he was just way outsized. He just kept trying to step in and couldn't really get his distance going or his striking going. Couldn't figure out his distance in the first round. You see that the size difference made a big deal. But he landed a huge right hand and put Croom on his ass. And then Croom got to take a break because he kicked Brian in the nuts. Penalty free, by the way. And then Croom was blitzing forward with his hands, but staying on the outside with his kicks. So he wasn't being like a super accurate striker, but he put out a ton of volume, and you can see that play out here in the stats. 33 of 88, 22 of 72, right? So I gave it the first round to Croom. I don't think that's controversial. So, also Kelleher kept slipping on the mats, and I think, also he said that he shit himself right before the fight. It's also not good. When you got to go, you got to go. Bad time to start the carnivore diet. So, Croom with more of the same in the second round, landing and throwing way more for the first half of the second round. But Brian Kelleher started working the body, and he finally took Croom down and grabbed his neck crazy hard a bunch of times and transitioned and kept staying on top of him, throwing him around, and doing a good job grappling. So that, that's a 19-19. Yeah, and like if you look at the strikes here, Kevin landed more, Croom landed more shots, but I think the control and the damage went to Kelleher. So, third round comes out, and Kelleher immediately goes for a takedown. So, yeah, he gets 35 seconds in, he gets his first takedown, and he transitions to stay on top with a lot of smooth moves. He looked great out there, and then he got the back, but he didn't lose position, which was really cool. Every time he either attempted the rear naked choke or got on the back, he never lost position. He always maintained. He did a really good job. Just complete domination in the third round by Brian. Easy 29-28, and the judges got it right. So no controversy there. See, like I said, not a lot to talk about here. And then the first fight of the night. Boy, was this disappointing. TJ Brown taking on Charles Rosa. Do you want to see Charles Rosa fight anymore? I don't. He outlanded him, they were almost dead even on strikes in the first round, but Rosa's way too easy to hit. And he seems very willing to accept bottom position when, like, he's not willing to make that extra move, and he's not willing to put in that little bit of extra energy to maintain position. He just accepts that he's going to be on his back and then goes down there and tries to submit him from the bottom. The thing is, it just doesn't work anymore. Unless you're a crazy specialist, people aren't getting submitted that easy anymore. And yeah, it could work, 1 out of 4 times, and, he doesn't get cut from the UFC. He can get a knockout. He's not a bad fighter or anything. It's just, he seems to constantly be waiting around, and he just spends so much time on his back and on his back foot, and he's just not throwing a lot of damage out there. He's just, I don't want to see him fight anymore. I don't think he's a bad fighter. I don't think he's spent or anything like that. I personally don't want to see him fight anymore because I don't want to see this get worse for him. Right? I'm not saying he can't win, but if they keep, I don't know how good TJ Brown is, right, compared to. He beat Kai Kamaka, lost to Danny Chavez and Jordan Griffin. So, he's a 50-50 fighter in the UFC. He's an okay guy. Charles Rosa to me is one of those guys. He's just, yeah, he wins one. He's always trading wins and losses, and then this is the first time he lost 2 in a row. So, dude, he's just, And his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights have all been decisions. And his win was a split decision against Justin James. Is that when James bet on himself like crazy money? Oops. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit here and bash on the guy. I don't think he's a terrible fighter or anything. I don't know him personally. I don't think he's a bad person. I have no idea. So I'm not going to sit here and just shit on the dude. I'm just not excited when I see his name on the card. Okay, let's do a quick breakdown. I might do another one of these this week. I might do an update. I don't know. You let me know. Do you think would you watch more of these videos if I did short ones during the week and then a long version during the weekend? Like maybe I'll just do 10 minutes of recording. I'm not going to be doing like crazy editing or anything right now. I just don't have the time for that. I'm the only person working on this. Right, even when Nate and I record, I'm the only one who does like the uploading, and that I don't want him to do any of this stuff. Like he's a very busy guy who's got a lot of important things going on, and he's as far as his job goes, he's a much more important person to this country than I am. But what I'm saying is, I think that the editing thing, it just I don't want it to become a second job when I really enjoy doing what I'm doing right now. I love being able to talk about MMA. I love being able to express myself and just kind of go off the cuff and speak to things. Editing could be in the future. I don't mind doing that. I actually enjoy video editing. It just takes a lot of time, and it's time that I kind of don't have right now. So, would you guys watch more of these if I did little ones during the week? Maybe I'll just do MMA news. I might talk about TV shows that are coming out. I don't know how my numbering system will go. I'll have to figure that out. I think as far as the proper podcast, I think they're still going to be, numbered episode number the way I'm doing now. It's crazy that that we're almost at 100 of these. That's nuts to me. And I've been pretty consistent doing them almost every single week. I hope you guys appreciate that. I love doing them. Anyway, let's talk about this weekend. Can you guys even read that? Probably not. It doesn't matter. All right, Francis Ngannou taking on Ciryl Gane. They're former teammates. They used to train with each other. They both were from France, this country that doesn't allow MMA. What a build-up. We got power on one side with Ngannou, and we got skill and speed with Gane. Whatever. You can get the cliche bullshit that they're going to throw out for this. What do we really have with this fight? Promotional bullshit aside. Francis Ngannou hits hard. We all know that. He looks like he has improved. But the Francis Ngannou that we know and love still is there. The guy who throws crazy shots, his striking may have improved and he might be more reserved, but when push comes to shove, do you think that his tendencies are going to automatically go away because he has one loss in the UFC, one real loss in the UFC? Or do you think because he's gotten away with it so much, he's just going to go right back to it? He still has the power to put anybody's lights out. So here's the thing. Like I like Francis Ngannou, actually. I don't dislike him at all. I really like him. I'm not the biggest fan of his fighting style or anything because I don't think there's much to break down about it. But I appreciate him I like his story, him as a person. He seems like a genuine individual, a very nice guy, and all those things. And I love that about a fighter. So there's no reason for me to dislike this guy. What I don't like is people saying that he's got this crazy power that no one's ever seen before. Man, motherfucker, have you seen Mark Hunt throw a tight hook and knock someone dead? I have. You see him throw an uppercut and knock out the guy who took shots to the face from Derek Lewis. I have. Roy Nelson getting knocked out by Mark Hunt. Have you seen Mark Hunt just starching people? How about Shane Carwin putting people to sleep? Dude, all heavyweights have power. It's just physics, right? Mass and speed. It's just what it is. You add enough mass and it makes up for the lack of speed. And we all have relatively the same size brains and nerves and all that other stuff. It's just he just swings hard. Okay? He has long arms, very long levers, and he can hit hard, and he's got a lot of quick twitch muscle fiber. You can tell by the way he throws. But he reminds me of a heavyweight version of no, I don't remember the fighter's name. Anyway, he has a lot of power. Mike Perry. I don't even need to look it up. He reminds me of a heavyweight Mike Perry. So we all remember when Mike Perry had his success and whatever, but really what made him Mike Perry who Mike Perry was his explosiveness, his power, and his willingness to engage. And, his reckless abandon for his own health and safety. I mean, look when he fought Vicente Luque and just getting his nose moved over to his ear. Well, Francis Ngannou has a lot of those same things. It's a more effective technique at heavyweight where guys are less skilled. Okay, generally speaking, at heavyweight, we're not dealing with the best athletes either. Okay, we have, even at the top of the division, we're not dealing with world-class athletes because this isn't where the money is for men of that size. It's just not. The money is elsewhere. If you're going to go in a combat sport, it's boxing. If you're going into traditional, if you want to go anywhere else, which I recommend, football, basketball, hockey, baseball even. All of these sports pay way better, and you don't get punched in the face for a living, and you can use your size more effectively. For money, that is. Well, Gane has all those things that can stop someone like Ngannou. Right? We saw it with Stipe. I'm not putting Stipe out of this conversation. I still think Stipe could beat Ngannou again. I'd be hard pressed to favor him in another fight. God dang it. So if they fight again, I'd probably favor Ngannou. I favored him in the second one. So I don't know if I would go with Stipe, but I'm not putting his chances at zero. I'd say he probably has like a 40-60 type chance, maybe 30-70, depending on how Ngannou looks in this fight. Whereas Gane, he has all the tools. Do I know who's going to win? No, I have no fucking idea. I mean, Ngannou can just erase everything. Look at Derek Lewis. He does the same shit. Backstep, 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 backstep. Crazy, stupid, looping kick, big punch. If he lands it, he wins. If not, we wait around to see if he does it again. Maybe he sits on his ass for 15 minutes. Maybe he gets punched out by Mark Hunt. Maybe he gets outpointed and just destroyed by Gane. It just doesn't matter. And the guy quits in there. Derek Lewis quits all the time. It's just he has so much. He has power, and he gets away with it because the heavyweight division doesn't have guys who can deal with it effectively. It's just. I mean, it's the way it is. It's the way the heavyweight has almost always been. Well, Cyril Gane has the skills. They're former training partners. I'm not going to make too much of that. You can go over their training footage and see those things. I think Gane, obviously the longer this fight goes, it favors Gane. I think if he downloads the new information that Ngannou gives him, I think Gane can easily take this fight. The third, the fourth, the fifth round, I think he can finish Francis. Especially if he gets him tired, I feel like he can win this fight. Gane fights smart. If we see a blitzing Ngannou, not all bets are off, but there's a good chance that he lands a big shot at some point against Gane, so we'll get to see his chin. If he can survive a couple shots from Ngannou and get to position and put Ngannou on his ass, put him up against the fence, make him work hard, make him miss, I think Gane wins this. But, it's Ngannou. He's just, you never know. He could just catch him as the end of it, and then we get to see what? Ngannou take on Stipe. I mean, Ngannou could take on Stipe again. Or, no, Ngannou. Oh, yeah, that's the other part of this is Ngannou's contract is up after this, and he doesn't want to fight for the UFC anymore unless they give him more money. So they're going to tell him, go fuck off. Brandon Moreno. Okay, I'm not going to. I have no idea. I would not put money on this fight at all. Unless you have some inside information, I definitely would not put money on this fight. We got Brandon Moreno taking on Deiveson Figueiredo for the third time. Obviously, they're 1-1. I don't think Deiveson Figueiredo had his best performance the last time out. I think Brandon Moreno had one of the best performances he's ever had in his career the last time out. Their first fight was relatively close. I think they're a very close matchup. It's really, can Figueiredo keep up with the pressure of Moreno the entire fight? Has Moreno kept advancing since he won the title, or will he slack off because he's reached that big goal? It's hard to know because we haven't seen it yet. So there's lots of unknowns in this fight. Based off what we know, who would I favor? I would favor Moreno because the first fight was very close, and Moreno gave himself very good opportunities to win that fight. In the second fight, Figueiredo had an off night, and it wasn't his best, and Moreno clearly outclassed him. Right, so when they're both on, it's close, and when Figueiredo is off, Moreno's clearly better. Now, if Moreno has a bad night, I think we can go the other way. It's just, are we going to see a bad night? Does Moreno have those? So we'll find out. I would favor Moreno in this matchup. Probably 60-40 in this. Maybe, 60-40. I wouldn't put a lot of stake in it. I would not bet on this fight either. I feel like it's so up in the air. We got Michel Pereira, Greg Hardy taking on... Oh, wait, no. I thought they pulled him from that fight. Cody Stamann versus Said Nurmagomedov. Yeah, the rest of these we'll probably go off. We'll probably go over afterwards, or we will for sure. Cool. Yeah, I mean, are you excited? Do you really want to see this heavyweight fight? I mean, part of me does, just because I love heavyweight fights. I love the title fights. But part of me is also not super excited because the whole situation with the UFC and Francis, like, not playing ball together, the advancement of Gane and how good he is. If Francis just puts a stop to the Gane thing and then he leaves, what have we done to Gane's legacy here? What have we done to his? That's not his fault, and it's not Ngannou's fault for being a better fighter on that night or anything. It's just like when John Jones left the light heavyweight division. He left a big shadow there, and I think we've moved past it at this point because there is points where people are saying, like, Jan Blachowicz could have beaten John, but then he lost to Glover, so we're kind of back where we were, where if John Jones went back to light heavyweight, I'm pretty sure he'd get the belt back, so... Yeah, man, I'm not rooting for either one of these guys in this fight. I'm rooting for Brandon Moreno. I think he's fun. It's just because he's a freaking nerd and what he's into. I am also into. I'm not rooting for Gane or Ngannou. I like both individuals. I wish Ngannou had better management. I wish that his trials were more in the ring and less out. It just sucks. Let me know. What do you guys think of the fight? Are you guys excited for the fight? How do you think it's going to go? Do you think we get two new champions, one new champion, both stay the same? You let me know what you think. How do you feel about Greg Hardy? Just let me know. How do you feel about people who beat their girlfriends? I'm sure you know. Yeah, that's how we're going to end this one, with me making that face. Good grief. If you made it this far, I appreciate you all. I really do. Please like and subscribe. I said it at the top. I said it again. I started putting these all back up on freaking Spotify. So if you just want to listen to the audio version of this and you don't have YouTube Premium, I will put these back. These will be on Spotify now. I am currently updating the backlog. I still have like 20 more to put on there. I put, I think, 20 on there last night. So I have a lot to go there. I just focused so much on the YouTube thing that I kind of neglected the audio portion. So I will be doing that. I hope you guys all have an awesome week. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I'm glad fights are back. I'm glad we got stuff to look forward to. And yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome day, awesome week, and I love you.